Olha, já sei o nome, já escolhi o nome. Vai ser Ignorantemente.
I'm excited for this conversation actually because it's been so long since we talked and now we are going deep and talking about everything like our friendship, my year there. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited. I'm very excited. Anytime I get to talk to you, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, can I curse on this? Because I forgot to ask that.
Olá, antes de avançar aqui para o meu episódio com a Briseida, gostava só de avisar que esta conversa está totalmente em inglês. De qualquer das formas, eu espero que consigas perceber e ouvir até ao fim, porque falamos de coisas super interessantes e bastante pertinentes. Vamos a isto.
Hi, and welcome to episode 9 of this podcast. Today we have a very fun and also very different episode. I am here with a friend from the US. We met when I did an exchange program with AFS. I lived my senior year of high school in the United States. I lived with an American family and I went to the typical American high school. It was a crazy experience, all worth it. So I invited her to be my partner in crime for this episode. And today we'll talk about international friendships, culture differences, and of course, the upcoming US elections. So without further ado, I have with me none other than Briseida. Welcome.
No, I'm just kidding.
Does it feel weird? Like 7 years later, here we are recording.
I'm so glad though, because like, who can say that? Like a friendship, especially like I know friends who can't even keep up with their friends in the States. Like, never mind overseas. So like the fact that, and thank God for social media, because like that's another reason, you know, where we're able to
That's
keep
true.
tabs so easily. But like, I honestly appreciate you so much. Like, you're just amazing. I'm so happy to be here. And I'm like super, super honored, honestly. I'm like, I get to be on her podcast. Like, you don't know how many times I've literally been like, yeah, you remember my friend from Portugal? Like, that we were friends in high school? Like, yeah, we're still friends and I'm going to be on her podcast. So.
That's hilarious. And I was just telling you before I did this introduction, I was just telling you how I feel this will be a fun conversation because, and I want to have everyone updated, we haven't talked in quite a long time. And after I left the US, like we kept talking, but we never talked about like, sometimes we would talk about like our memories or some stories we had, but we never went deep on our friendship and like what happened in that year, you know? It was everything so quick and it almost felt like a different life, at least for me, for sure. So I think it will be fun. Like 7 years later, we are adults now. We are like women. We are here, you know, and we are talking about like all this experience. So I'm very excited. Okay, so what was your first impression of me?
So, first impression.
Do you remember? I mean, I have a clear, I have a clear image in my mind, but I don't know if you have one.
Well, my memory is shot, so but like, I do remember, like, I remember meeting you, and I was like, you're super cool. Like, I'm always a person that like energy before I meet anyone. Like, I feel like your energy speaks. Everybody's energy speaks before they can even open their mouth. So with you, like, I felt the good energy from you. Like, I was just like, man, like, she's infectious. Like, I want to be around this chick. And I remember you telling us, like, at lunch, I remember there was a time where you were like, yeah, like, I don't really know a lot of people. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, how disrespectful. Like, how can people not want to get to know you? You're fun. Like, you're amazing. And I do remember, honestly, probably the first times I was like, oh, this chick, like, I knew she was cool, but now, like, I really like this chick, because I think that was the time where you went to the beach with your program. I will never forget this. And somebody, like some ignorant American guy, yeah, he was like, go back to your planet, or whatever. I will never forget how you were cracking up, and I'm looking at you and I'm like, wow, this girl's taking this racism real well. Like, and then you're like, we're on the same planet. What the fuck? Like, I was like, how could you say that? And I was just like, man, this chick, I love her. She can get down. She's cool. But you were like, what the hell? Like, how stupid. And I'm like, yes, they are stupid. Call them out. I loved it. I loved it. What's your experience? What's your memory?
Yeah, I remember for me, it was like we were going for a meeting for some club. It was like senior class cabinet or something. Like I have the exact moment in my mind. But yeah, I think it was senior class cabinet. Now I remember, because like my first week, I just wanted to be in all clubs. So I went to this club and then this club and then this club. And then because I wanted to meet people, you know, and then in the end of the first month, I just got out of the clubs that I like didn't enjoy or I didn't meet people.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was senior class cabinet.
Okay, it could have been, because I remember we went for like a couple of meetings or whatever.
And we were at the door, and you were with what's her name? She was very stylish, and she used to dance and everything.
Camila?
No, I think it was like Dianera.
Oh, Dayanara. Yeah.
And I remember the two of you were together and you were talking and you were like the cool chicks. I mean, not like you are not now, but I just remember thinking like, okay, these are the cool ones because like they look good, they look stylish, and they're like, you were laughing and everything. And I remember sitting in the meeting, and so I didn't really know a lot of people. And I remember we were sitting in a meeting, and I was sitting alone, building the courage to go talk to you after the meeting. Yeah, so I was basically like, okay, what am I gonna say? What is she gonna answer me? Like, what should I do? All of that, and then the meeting ended, and I went and I talked with you, and you were so nice. You were like the nicest person ever, and I was not expecting that. I was really not. I thought you were gonna be like,
That's
who,
so
like,
funny.
what do you want? Like, who are you?
Yeah. You were like, this girl's a bit. She's gonna just kick me out. Never.
Yeah, but it was not at all what happened. And we just became friends after that. You invited me to lunch, and it was a very happy ending. And I'm glad it was.
I'm glad too.
Yeah. And then I remember that something that is very funny, most of exchange students have this. Oh, first of all, let me just remind everyone, I haven't talked English for a long time, so my English is a little bit stiff.
Shut up. Please shut up. Dude, like, I have family members who have lived here their whole lives, and their English ain't even good as yours. So don't even try. Your English is amazing. Continue.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on. So most of the exchange students had one problem, which was like they met people in high school and everything, but then maintaining the friendship was the hardest part. Like they could meet people, they talked with them, and they would just hang out for a couple of days or for some moments, but then maintaining the friendship was the hardest part. And I remember the first time you invited me to have lunch with you and Camilla and Karishma and Kristen and everything, I was so excited. I was like, now I'm part of this group. You don't know how that meant. Like for me, it was such a big thing because I met a lot of people, especially I was on swimming team. So I had friends from the swimming team.
Yeah,
I had friends from the swimming team, but a lot of them, like we would talk in practice and we would like have fun. And I thought, okay, you're my friend. And then when it comes to like the high school daily basis, you know, like the day to day, like no one invited me for lunch. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm never making friends, because like this part of the day, which is the part that normally you socialize most, because it's a big period of time that you can be talking with people. It was like, you know, and in the movies you have that drama where you go to the bathroom and just cry alone and eat your lunch. Like I never did it, but I thought of myself like that. I was like, I'm the lonely girl eating lunch. And then the first time you asked me, I was like, yes, I'm going, of course, yeah. But then I made it cool. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll have lunch with you.
Yes, I'll see. I'll pencil you in. I'll see what.
Yeah, I'll free my schedule for you. What was the thing that made you want to be my friend? Like you could have just stayed in your, you know, you could have just stayed in your comfort zone. Like you already had friends in high school. You were in your senior year. Like you could just say like, oh, I don't want to, like any other person that I met, they were all very nice. But most of them didn't make like the extra mile, you know, to really get to know me, to really invite me to things, to invite me to their house, to meet their family. Like I did all that with you. Like what made you want that?
I think, and I'm so sorry, I'm just like realizing how bad the lighting is looking. So I'm just gonna
Don't worry.
what's it called? I think for me, I honestly am always a person that like I want to treat people who like, if I always think about how the other person is feeling, because like I could only imagine, you know, especially when you were like, oh yeah, like I haven't really met a lot of people, and I'm like, okay, well they're freaking missing out because you're freaking awesome, like I love you. And you know, so I literally was like automatically in love with you. I was like, she's great, she's fantastic, I love her. So I think what for me was that you're a genuine person. I feel like you're very like, you're not a person that's like, oh, I'm gonna act like something in order to be accepted. Like you are always yourself. You're very transparent. I'm also like that. And I respect that from people where they're very like genuine, good people. And I think that's what I gravitated towards, is that you are a genuinely good person and you're transparent and you're like, this is me. And hey, if you like it, great. If you don't, I like, you know, and I keep it moving. And I love that about you, because you are like I said, you're a genuinely good person. And it's hard to find that, especially in high school. Like people are always trying to be something that they're not. And so I was like, yes, this is my homegirl. That, and also just like I'm a person that like I love just learning about different cultures. And like you know, I learned a lot. I mean, I was even going through like Portuguese words with you.
That's
days
true.
I would like, you know, copy some of the things you would say, like we'd be on a phone call, or like you'd be, you know, talking about something in Portuguese, and I'd be like, mais, I, I would like copy, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like I would just like keep it in the back of my head, like, all right, this is cool. Like I like this.
Do you remember that trip we did to Disney with the chorus?
Yeah.
And we were the whole trip, you were learning Portuguese, and I was teaching you, like he would say, okay, now say this. And I would say it in Portuguese and you would go, but you were so good. You were actually very good.
I would literally be like, oh, thank you so much. Like, oh,
And also you would get so excited because you were like, oh, did I do good? Oh, wow.
I really was like, because I mean, you know, I'm a Spanish speaker, but I don't speak Portuguese. So I was like, I'm good. I'm like, I'm good. And she's not, you know, I'm like, she's genuine. She'll tell me if it's crap. So like, if it's good, all right, I'll take it. So yeah, I really like that too. Like I got to learn about your culture and, you know, like just about your family, and that was really cool. Like, cause you know, there's like as much as I loved our similarities, I also loved our differences too. And because I can learn from your culture just like you were learning from my culture, and what was, you know, similar and different and all that stuff. So I really honestly like, but I would say for the most part, I wanted to be your friend because I just felt like so many people were missing out on your personality, because you're super fun. And then you're always down. Like you were like, okay, like when we went to Five Guys, like I remember you were like, let's go, I want this, and we were like, it's just Five Guys, and you're like, no, let's go, I want an American burger, let's do it. So we were like, all right, let's go. Let's
You don't understand like how everything, and now that I think back, like how everything felt so exciting in that year. Like I would literally go just, I remember, what was that courtyard that had like shops like close to our
Waterford. It's called Waterford Lakes. Yeah.
Yeah, that. I remember the first time that we went there and I was so excited. And it was just, a bunch of shops and restaurants. But for me, that felt like Disney World. I was like, yeah. Then imagine how I was when I actually went to Disney World. Like I was on hype for everything because everything was new to me,
Yeah.
It's a lot like when you go to you do tourism, and you go to a different country and you see the things and you feel excited, and it's for a short period, like for a longer period. And I knew that would be my year. I felt like everything was exciting. Then I also had my downs, obviously, because you also feel miss home and all that, but everything was a hype. Like I was high on life.
I was getting it.
Yeah. And
Cool.
the funniest part was that the idea that I had of the US was almost 100% exactly like it was, like my actual life there. What you see in the movies, and everything felt a lot accurate. Like I remember most of my friends from Portugal asking me like, what's high school like? Is it really like the movies? And I was like, yeah, kind of. Pretty much. A little bit more real, but pretty much like, because everything is so different in Portugal, and like we'll get to it later, but yeah, everything is so different that I really felt like I was, at least in the beginning, I was living like in the movies. So it was very fun. What did you learn from Europe? Because you probably already had like some ideas in your mind of Europeans and of life in Europe. And the facts that I told you, was there something that you felt like it was different? Was there anything that was like a shock to you, or?
I think when we went to Five Guys, I will never forget when you were like, yeah, like this is so good. And you were something like, yeah, like I just go to like Spain sometimes to get tapas, and we all looked at you like, what? Like, we were like, I wish that was the case. Like we were like, this is crap compared to what you're talking about, but okay. It's just so funny because like it's just something like that. Like we don't, I mean, and you probably think, I mean, I don't know. Like I'm not gonna say like all Europeans think alike, but there may be some Europeans who think like, oh, you guys get to go to like New York and you get to go to like, whatever. And I'm just like, Spain, like, hello, like Spain is way better. Like,
Yeah.
So, things like that where we didn't, I didn't know how close Portugal was to like other countries. Like, I didn't really know where it was on the map, to be honest. So, like, after meeting you, like, I started seeing, oh, okay, like, it's, near Morocco, which that's another place I am like super cool, like, excited to visit one day. And like, I, started looking more into the culture of Portugal. And I also learned how, like, how you were saying how beautiful it is. Like I would see pictures that you would show us and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, because they don't really, I honestly feel like Americans in general, we don't really talk about how beautiful, like truly beautiful Portugal is.
Yeah.
And it's usually like, I want to go to England, I want to go to Spain, I want to go to Italy, which is great. Like I'm not bashing it, which is great. But like there are other countries that are not getting their shine. You know what I mean? And I felt like Portugal was one of them when you were showing me pictures. I mean, even till this day, like when I see you on Instagram, I'm like, me and a Karishma will be like, dang, like just living her best life, huh? Like I wish, because it just looks so gorgeous there. So I would say definitely learning like the language. I would say that's probably number one, because I was, always around you and I was learning it. And I didn't know how much. I knew you were telling me too, like the languages, because like, obviously there's Brazilian Portuguese and then there's Portugal Portuguese. And I know you were telling me how Portugal Portuguese has a little more of a Germanish influence as opposed to the Brazilian Portuguese. So that was something interesting. And I also remember you telling me that your last name, because I was like, Freak. I was like, oh God. I was like, girl, that is that Portuguese? You were like, it's a little more German. I was like, oh, I hear that. I hear that. Yeah. I was like, okay. Like,
yeah,
so.
my last name is German. It's not Portuguese, so yeah. But that's true. I feel like what happens is that Europe, the whole Europe is probably no, it's the same size as the US. So when we say like we travel to Spain or to Italy, or it's just like 2 hour, like from Lisbon to Madrid is like a 1 hour, not even 1 hour flight, So it's so close that we traveling like borders, like from my country to other countries, it's the same as exactly you traveling from state to state. So for you, it might seem like, oh wow, she's having like she's going to all these amazing places and all that, and I'm very glad that I get to be in such a beautiful country. But it's actually very close. That's true. Something, I was just now remembering that do you know when we went to the Five Guys? Was it the same day that we were shopping for the dresses for our homecoming?
Ooh, I think so. Because I remember we had shopping bags.
Yeah.
So I want to say yes. That probably was the same day.
I remember that. And I remember that we were there shopping for the dresses. And I was trying on all the dresses and everything, and you were helping me. And I really felt like one more time, because people like in Europe and in Portugal don't have this kind of experiences. And one more time, I felt like I was in the movies, because we were doing literally like the try on, get the dress out, get the dress on, put these earrings, put this bracelet, and then show me, and then go out and everything just felt like, I could have the music on my background, and it would be like the beginning of the movie. Shopping for homecoming dresses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I also want to talk about like those differences, like the high school differences from America to Europe, and especially Portugal, because it's my experience, obviously. So in America high school, and I will need your help, because there's a lot of things that I already forgot and erased from my memory.
Ooh, I got you.
Yeah. So you have like freshman year, junior.
Yes.
Junior after, and then what?
Well, no, freshman, sophomore,
sophomore, junior, and senior year. And then most, like, you don't have a specific area that you study, right? You can just do whatever classes you want.
Correct. It's like you can do different programs. Like we did have different programs. Like one was IB, like International Baccalaureate, but it's just more like to do that program, you would do like 3 years of college as opposed to like 4 years of college, through like college credit. So like most of high school for us, it's like you're either taking a program for college credit or you're just going through regular high school to get your diploma.
Okay. And you had all these different classes, and then you would change the classes, right? Like it was never like you had the same room, always the same room and the same desk, and then the teachers would change. You were the ones that would like go from class to class.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because in Europe, it's like you have to pick one area of study for the last 3 years of high school. So you either go to science or arts or languages and economics. So it's the 4, and you have to pick one, and then for most times you have one class, and then the teachers change. You have one class, one room, and then the teachers are the ones that change the rooms.
Oh, that's interesting. I remember you telling me picking like a specific, like kind of like a major for college, but you do high school, like you pick a specific area of interest. But I didn't know the teachers changed. That's interesting.
Yeah. And also I felt like in high school in America, like the relationship we have with the teachers is a lot more personal, you know? Like in Portugal, it's so like like the teacher's there and you are here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like very just straight to the point. Like, I'm your teacher, you're the student, and I'm just teaching you this and da da da. I remember, like in high school, I saw some things like students giving like, I don't know, Miss Monge was the first one that was my first period. I remember them, like the students bringing her donuts and just sitting on her desk and everything. And I was like, whoa, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's very different. I would say, like, you know, even people knew where Miss Monge lived and everything. And like Karishma was her neighbor. And so she was like, hey,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's very, very different. People are a lot more like, I guess, giving about their personal life too. Like, you know, with certain teachers, they're like, oh yeah, like I have a dog or I have this. Whereas like, and I get that too, because like you know, my family's half Peruvian, so they talk about that too, how it's different. You know, in Peru it's more like how it is in Portugal, where it's like authority, student. Like, I'm the authority figure, I'm here, I'm getting in, I'm getting out. That's it.
Yeah.
I totally get what you mean.
And also, if you want to do like extra curricular activities here in Portugal, you do out of school. Like you have PE classes, so you have like some classes that you will have like a basketball team or whatever, but it's not really like the school basketball team, you know. So if you want to do all those activities, you do it out of school in clubs or anything. And in the US, you actually have those activities in school, and you have like the clubs. You have so many clubs, like you have everything clubs. I was going through the list. I remember I was going through the list and I was like, what? There's a club. I remember there was like an Asian club, and it was a club for everything. And I was like, what? This is crazy.
You're like, oh, this is a lot.
Yeah, but it's also very cool because you get to meet a lot of people. And if it wasn't for the clubs and for the extracurricular activities, I hadn't met most of the people that I did. So
it's true. That's very true.
It's a very good thing. And also the coaches of like the teams are also teachers, right? Most of the time.
Some of the time, not all the time. Like there's some that are coaches, you know, just, you know, for coaching sake, but there are some that that also teach like math or whatever, or like PE in their spare time.
Yeah, I remember my science teacher was the football coach. You remember that? Everybody got that?
You remember about that? That's crazy. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. This is a story that one time I got to lunch and I looked at Briseida and I couldn't stop laughing. And you were like, what are you laughing about? And I was like, okay, I have to tell you this. So my science teacher, who is also the football coach, he was always in the class. He was always saying that. He would say something like, so the chromosome X, something, chromosome Y. Everybody got that? Like he was always saying that. I got it stuck in my mind.
I do remember that. And I was like, are you okay? Are you broken? What's up? What's going on?
Most of the times that I had these things, most of the people didn't get. And I would laugh alone. I wouldn't care. I was like, okay, you didn't get it. I don't mind. I will just sit here and laugh. I remember one time in class, because I had calculus with Karishma, like our first period was Miss Monge. Yeah. And I remember one time I went to Karishma and I was laughing one more time. And I was like, do you notice that Miss Monge, the way she says, do you understand, is funny? And Karishma was like, what do you mean? Because Miss Monge would say, does everybody understand? She would say it like this. And it was so funny to me, but no one thought it was funny. So one more time I would just laugh alone.
Hey, it's all right. It's cool. We be laughing on our own.
Exactly. So how does the schedule work in high school in America?
So for high school schedules, basically, I mean, I think like it went from like 8 periods to like 7 periods. It changes every
Mm.
now and then. But I think the years that we were in UHS, it was 7 periods. So basically you have like either 1 to 3 classes before lunch, but they like rotate it out so not everybody has the same lunch. So you could, I think that like, because the school was so big, I mean, it's
Yeah.
like university high school, so
Yeah.
so I would say like where we went specifically, because it's different for every school in the States. It's not all the same, but for at least where we went, it was just like I think lunch A, lunch B, lunch C. So
Mhm.
like you could have like 2 classes, then lunch, and then the rest of your 7 periods or whatever. And that's what the classes are called, like
Mhm.
first period, second period, third period, whatever. And then lunch B, lunch C, whatever, and so on and so forth. So that's basically how it works. And I didn't have like a homeroom or anything like that. I don't think we had that. It was
Yeah, we
more like,
didn't.
yeah, we didn't have that. It's just like you start school, you start with your first class and you go on through the day like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, also in Portugal we don't have a homeroom, but you have your like your, how do you say, like your group of students is always the same. So your class is always the same. So you don't need a homeroom. But I didn't remember that. That's actually very interesting. Our high school was huge.
Yeah.
And compared to high schools here in Portugal, it was just crazy. It was so big that the lunchtime had to be divided so all the students could fit in the cafeteria. Yeah, yeah, it
Insane.
was huge. And what time did we get in? I don't remember. What was the start? Like,
I'm gonna say like I think it was 7:20. So because I remember vividly taking the bus at like 6 in the morning, 6:05 in the dark, because like daylight savings over here, like it was awful. I hated that. I hated
yeah,
having to like wake up super early, which I don't mind waking up early, but it was the fact that I had to walk in the dark to
yeah.
my bus. Like it sucked. But yeah, it was like 7:20 or so, and then we ended like at 2:15 or something like that.
Okay, yeah. So in Portugal, it's like a whole day, you know.
Oh,
You,
really?
I think it's you start at like 8:30
Okay.
and you can have like 2 or 3 classes in the morning, then you have like a big lunch break, not like there, like in Portugal it's like a 1 hour and 30 minute
Oh,
break.
wow.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
it's a big lunch break, and then you have classes again in the afternoon.
Gotcha. So what
Yeah.
time do you usually end?
Like 5, I would say. Like it depends, that it
Wow.
depends on how many classes you have, but yeah, like 5,
Wow.
5:30. Yeah,
Okay, gotcha. Well,
yeah,
because of the lunch too. I think that's why.
yeah.
But that's awesome because isn't it like in tell me if I'm wrong because
Hmm.
good American, but uh like in Europe, like lunch times, dinner times, like those are like big things, right? Like those are
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
fundamental.
for sure. That's what I was going to jump to next, like the culture differences, and that's one of them. Like the lunches for us are like a big thing. Like you eat the same at lunch as you eat at dinner. Not like in the US. I remember like I would have a sandwich at lunch. And that
Yeah.
for me was like, just a sandwich? Oh no. I'm going to starve to death. And then I would get to dinner and it was like all this, like a lot of food, you know. But yeah, so you have like big lunch, big dinner, and the dinner is later. You have dinner at like 8 or 9 p.m.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. I remember like for me the first month was so hard to have dinner so early. Like in my house we would have dinner at like 5:30 or 6, and for me that was like, oh my god, I'm not hungry now.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, can we like hump this later?
Yeah, exactly, that was it. And then there was so many other, like, I love talking about the cultural differences because for me and everywhere that I have been, it's always the things that when you are living, it's the things that make you more uncomfortable, but when you look back, it's the things that made all the experience worth it and make you laugh and make you feel like, okay, I really lived this.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I love to talk about culture differences everywhere I go. But I remember something that was so funny was everything was so big in the US. Like everything was huge. Like for us, like a pack of butter is something like, it's like a quarter of a pack of butter in the US. It's ridiculous. In the US, it's actually a bucket. It's not a pack. It's like a
Yes,
bucket.
yes, it's
I
disgusting.
remember the
Is
first
what it is.
the first time I opened the fridge and I saw everything, I was like, oh my God, like can they eat everything like till it's over?
It's crazy. It's like, yeah, extra large, and it's funny that you bring that up because like I don't know if I watched the show called Parks and Recreation. They actually make fun of that, how like Americans, they're like, yeah, there's like an episode where they're like, yeah, this soda is the size of a 2-year-old child.
Yeah.
Like it's literally like that here. It's like so crazy. Everything's like deep fried,
Yeah.
buttered up, like big sizes, like you said. It's crazy. It's truly wild because I've seen pictures of people going, to Italy and places like that, and in Europe, and they'll like take pictures of their food, and they're like, "This is how we should be eating."
Yeah. And they go like, oh, it's so cute, so little.
And I'm like, yeah, we should be eating like that because this is why we are, in the state that we're in with all this high childhood obesity and all that stuff. But it's crazy. I agree. Like the portions are insane.
Mhm. But one thing that it's actually funny about that is that I had that culture shock when I got there, and I
Mm.
thought it was funny and everything. And then when my family went to visit me, so my parents and my two brothers went
Yeah,
to
I
visit
remember
me,
that. Yeah.
yeah, they like I was already an American. Like I felt like an American when they went to visit me. I was already like I completely fit in. Like I'm in a culture. I'm an American now.
Yeah.
And they were having that culture shock. I remember we were having a dinner at my host family's house, and then the bucket of butter, because for me the image is always the bucket of butter, came to the table, and the face of one of my brothers, he was like what is this?
Oh,
Like he was expecting them to open and it would be something else. Like it can't be butter. Like there's something else inside, like a chicken popping out of the
oh
bucket.
my God.
But no, it was
Crazy.
about, and I was already used to it, so I was like, yeah, they are.
You're
It's
like, Mom, chill, Dad, get with it.
yeah, it's fine. Don't worry.
That's funny. I love
And
it.
also something that I thought was very funny was that everyone was always drinking something. Like you always had a drink on your hand or on the table. Like you would bring coffee, you would bring like sodas, you would bring like you always had to be drinking something. And that for me was like, wow.
Really? That's not like that in Portugal?
No. Like
Oh,
you
wow.
drink like you drink at meals, maybe like if you want you bring a water or something
Uh-huh.
to work. But yeah, like I remember like in the morning going to school, everyone had like a cup of coffee or a cup of,
Yeah.
I don't know, a juice or a cup of something. And I was like, why are you always drinking stuff?
That's funny. That's really, I never noticed that ever. Like that's something that I'm learning. I didn't know that. Yeah, but you're right. Like everybody always has like a cup of coffee or, like you said, like, soda, whatever.
Mm.
But you're right. You're right. I never thought of that.
I hope that one time, like you come to Europe and then we can do like a part 2 of this episode. And then
Yes.
it's you saying like, why are the streets so narrow?
I probably would say something like that. I'd be like, "Oh my God, like it's like Barbie cars. Like you have to have a Barbie car to get around."
Yeah. Okay, so what did you learn with our friendship? What did you feel like? I jumped to like a really deep maybe question, but if you want, I can go first. But what did you think like our friendship made you like learn about life?
I really like honestly, I think the moment where you were like where it was my graduation and you were like that is such a fond memory for me And I think that was like honestly like probably one of the best days of my life, just because I like when you were saying, oh yeah, we don't really get a diploma, and I'm like, so you did this for fun? Like I was like, this is crazy. Like you don't get a diploma here, and then you explained it further, but I was like, you deserve a diploma from here. Like you did the work, you went to school like the rest of us. Like you freaking deserve this. So, I love that day just because like I think you weren't expecting, for that day to go the way it did, like where we threw a party and we had you take the pictures with my family and everything like that, which I hope I find those pictures. I know I still have your bracelet, your friendship bracelet.
Yeah, I have all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I need the picture. I really need to see those pictures because I've been looking for those pictures. I'm like, where are those pictures? Do I have those pictures? But I do have the bracelet still and all that stuff in like a memory box. But I would say like for our friendship and what it signified was that, even though we come from different countries, we speak different languages, we have different family dynamics, et cetera, we have so much in common, and you can still, I think like what I learned is like you can still be friends with people no matter their background, no matter the language barrier, no matter, what the differences may be. There's so many more things in common because we're human at the end of the day. Like instinctively we're human, primitively we're human, and so at the end of the day we have a lot more that binds us together than separates us. And I think that was really cool. And also the thing is too is that I think a lot of people that are ignorant and don't tend to befriend people outside of their race or outside of their culture, whatever it may be. I think it's a lot of assumptions that happen before they even get to talk to the person.
Yeah, for sure.
And so right now, like, we're seeing that with this person, but like it's just, but the thing is too is like what I'm basically trying to say is like I think when you put those assumptions to the side, like that's what you did originally too, like you thought I was going to be something that, and I wasn't, and I put these assumptions to the side, and you turned out to be great too. So I think once we start to learn that, and I think that's why people need to learn, is that putting those assumptions aside and actually letting the person speak for themselves of who they are and what they can contribute, because you taught me a lot and I feel like more culturally aware because of that. Like I'm not going to go to Europe now and be like, why don't y'all have coffee? You know what I mean? Like, like things like that where you can tell where people haven't been friends with a lot of different cultures. They start making ignorant comments, and it's a good to just educate them. But I feel like being your friend too, like I have been more culturally aware of, okay, like this is how they live, and respecting that, right? Just like you respected your bucket of butter family, like the foster family or what, you respected the bucket of butter. You're like, hey, it's not my jam, but like go ahead and do your thing. Like, so it's just, I think it's really cool to have that. And also we wouldn't have these really cool conversations like this today if we didn't put those assumptions to the side. So I'd say that.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like everything that you said is so important, especially today, like the things that are happening like all around the world. People have to be more open-minded. And for me, what I learned is that no matter where you go in the world, and that was like my first like big experience of intercultural friendships and just conversations and everything. No matter where you are in the world or where you go, you will always find great people. Like people, what I feel like sometimes people judge other cultures, they also judge other countries. Like I'm not going here because people here are like this. Like that's not true. That doesn't happen. Like you can't like generalize things like that. And the other thing is that it's very cheesy, but it's true, is that you can find kindness everywhere. Because I feel like as human beings and as a protection, our first instinct is to think about like the negative things, like, okay, if I go and I talk with this person, and if she, like, you know, if she shades me, or if she says something that I might feel bad with myself, like I'm going to feel horrible. But what if she's nice? What if she invites me to lunch? What if she's like the best friend you will have there, you know? And all that happened, and I was not expecting that, but I had to be open-minded. Obviously, I had like this big preparation because I was having a year abroad, and we had all this preparation and some kind of pep talks, like, you go, you have to talk with people, you have to say these things, and la la la. So I was like piped and all of that. But in any case, like, if someone, if you are in these situations, you just have to be open-minded and think, okay, nothing's gonna happen. Like, worst case scenario, she's mean, but that's on her. Like, I'm not, like, I'm okay.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And it's like they missed out. Like, honestly, like that's how I feel with the people that you were saying, like, oh yeah, like they didn't talk to me, or you know, they just kind of brushed me off. I'm like, they're missing out. Like, don't feel like you're missing out, because they're crap. Like they're missing out on you. So I agree 1,010% with everything you said, for sure.
And why do you think, I mean, you kind of already answered, but maybe you can go deeper. Why do you think it's important to have like international friendships, intercultural friendships, like on the world that we are living today?
Oh, girl, the world we are living today. Like, especially now. I think, I mean, also too, like, I'm in a country that there is so much division right now. And I think because of that, like like you said, it's more important now than ever before. Um, just because I feel like like, and kind of touching upon some of the things you said, like, you can find kindness no matter where you're at. And also going back to the energy thing too, like, there is good energy no matter the background, no matter the race, no matter the language you speak. Energy speaks before anybody else, like any words come out of their mouth. You can tell automatically when you want to be around somebody and when you don't want to be around somebody. So I honestly feel like having multicultural, you know, backgrounds and diversity within your friend group, makes you more conscious of, you know, again, about cultural norms in their culture versus your culture. Because I mean, I've been there where, like, I'm the weird kid that brings like Peruvian dishes, for example, like when I was a little kid. And I went to a mostly all white American school, and I was one of the very few minority kids. And I'd bring like a ceviche or something like that. And it's like, ew, what is that? Ew, that's disgusting, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's because they haven't been exposed. You know, granted, we're little kids, but like, had they been exposed to a Peruvian child, or, you know, just different cultures in general, they would have been more accepting of it. And so that's kind of why I definitely like having diversity in my friend group, because I don't want to have sameness and then just think, oh, everybody lives like this, because it's not true. Everybody has a different norm. And I think being more sensitive to that is awesome, and educating myself, you know, like, being friends with somebody, I love learning about those different cultures, because it's like, oh, that's really cool, or you know, I think something's really interesting, or you know, like, I want to be a part of, you know, like, even holiday traditions and stuff like that. You know, it's really cool. Like, for example, I have a friend who's Puerto Rican. They do the paranda, so they have like little bands and things like that for the holidays, and taking part of that is really cool, because you don't get to, if you're a part of one culture, you don't get to experience that. And it's just enriching. Like, it truly enriches the brain, but it also enriches your life. Like, you want to learn about different cultures. You don't want to be around the same old all the time. You want to kind of, you know, mix it up, spice up your life, kind of thing. So I think it's really cool just to, and also a benefit to the person, like, to whoever's hearing this, like, it's a benefit to you as a person to be diversifying your friend group, because you get to, again, be aware that, oh, like, what I thought was normal isn't the normal for everybody else. You know, everybody lives differently. Everybody has a story to give. So I think it's just making you more woke, what the kids say. And so I think that definitely helps more than like that, like, makes it worse, if that makes sense.
And from everything that you said, I actually want to say two things. One thing was that I never thought of this, but with all the things that you were saying, it just popped into my mind, is that a lot of people sometimes think that to have like intercultural or international friendships, like you have to travel, or you have to like go above and beyond, like to have these friendships. And it's not true. Like it can be like right next, like the way you embraced me, the way you welcomed me in your home, like as a country, and your actual home. But yeah, like you were up to it, you know. And you could have just, as I said in the beginning, like you could have just stayed in your comfort zone. Like you already had friends from different cultures, but you wanted one more. Like you wanted to expand more your mind. So that's what we have to think. Like there's different people everywhere we go. So we just have to search for it, and we just have to be open-minded about it. And for me, it was also it's also important because of the way you look at the world changes. And that year, it made me feel more human in every sense possible. You know, I felt more connected to the world. I felt like being friends with you, being friends with different people. You know, I had other exchange students that I also met. So I just felt connected to the world, because you can meet only one person from the other side of the world, but you already feel connected. You don't need to meet the whole country.
Oh, it's very true. Very
Yeah.
true.
So it's like, you know, it's like arms being like spread, and you can like grab everything. So that's how I felt. And that's why it's also important, because if you open your mind, if you make friendships all around the world, you feel more connected, and and you probably are more open-minded to make decisions and to understand the other point of view.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. So, is there anything that you carry to this day that year like marked you?
I feel like, I mean, kind of, I feel like I'm a broken record, but honestly, that day, like the graduation day was just like great to me, because I just felt like, I don't know, like I felt like that was a moment that was like really special.
Mm-hmm. Can you
And
tell the story? I think it would be fun.
yeah. So it was my graduation day. I think we got you a ticket, right? You sat with my family? Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you sat with my family. So we gave Magdalena a ticket. And I just, every time I say your name, I always think of like how I used to be like, my name is Magdalena. Like I used to do the impression of you. I was like,
Yeah, that's true. And also, when I met you, was the first time that someone said my name right in the US. So
really?
everything felt in like, yeah, it's true. Everything felt exciting about meeting you, because you were like the first person that said. Everyone would say Madalena, like everyone, Madalena, always Madalena. And I would say, it's actually not that. It's Madalena, and they would go Madalena. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't mind. And like my family called me Mara, like my short name, so it was easier. Yeah, but you were the one that said like perfect that the first time, and I was like, thank you so much.
You know, I also have a hard name, Briseida. So like, I get you, girl. I'm here. I'm here with you. We're struggle sisters. But yeah, so we gave you a ticket, and you know, I invited Magdalena to sit with my family, for the ceremony and everything like that, which was awesome. And basically, we have like little graduation parties after we graduate. So, I had Magdalena over with my family, and I think it was just us. Like, I don't think it was anybody, like none of my friends, because they all had their own graduation party.
It was like your family, like your cousins and
Yeah,
all
my
that.
cousins, my uncles, like, you know, my grandmother, everybody. And I remember saying, like, I was like, yeah, we were talking, like me and my family and we were all there, and we were just talking, and I was like, yeah, like Madalena's not gonna get a certificate, a certification or like a diploma or anything. you know, even though she's been here and I think she deserves one. And I remember like kind of going off. I'm like, she deserves one, blah, 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 blah. And my family was like, oh, then we're taking pictures. And I was like, oh, yes, we are. So then I, you know, gave you my hat, gave you the little tassel, my coat, everything, so you could wear it. And we took pictures like as if we were like your adopted family. We took pictures with you outside, inside the house. We were all around you. And it was just awesome because I literally remember that. And like just the rest of the night too, like not just the pictures, but like, you know, just the rest of the night getting time to spend with you, especially because I knew you were going to leave soon. And that sucked. And I remember we almost cried. Like I was like, oh my God, I have to leave. So, you know, just that time was really precious because I really just I just enjoyed you as a person. Like you were just such a great person to be around, and I'm pretty sure like all your friends that are listening to this, like they can definitely attest that you are a really infectious, like you are just an infectious personality. Like you really have like that you know, like, hey, I'm living life and this is and we're gonna get like, you're just down for anything and very adventurous, spontaneous. So I knew I was gonna like miss that part of me in like a couple of days, because I think it was like only a couple of days, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it was right at the end.
So yeah, like I honestly like will cherish that memory so much because it just felt so nice to have like, you know, this person who in a year, probably even less than a year, like became a stranger, best friends, and then you're with my family and we're just like hanging out, and it was just a great time. So yeah,
and I always, every time that I went to your house, I had so much fun. Every time I remember like your family was always like, you were always, something was going on, like even when you were mad. I remember you had like a little cousin, or
yes,
yeah, even when maybe you were like mad or a little bit like tired, like everything was fun for me. I always felt like it was fun. And actually that day was so special for me. And I remember so well that I sat on a chair in the middle of the living room.
Yep.
All of a sudden, like your whole family, like your aunts, your uncles, like your grandma, like everyone comes to take a picture with me. And I'm like, oh my God.
I think that's too, like we embraced you, and like I love that because like that's, you know, that's who I am as a person. But I think it was nice to see like, oh, my entire family is a reflection of like embracing people and loving people. And I think that's why I cherish it so much, because like we truly embraced you. And I like hope, you know, I can only hope that you felt that too, and that you like felt love.
Yeah, for sure. And I also remember that I thought like, okay, they're being so nice, so we'll take a picture and this will be over. You all were so committed to be like the best graduation pictures ever, because you were like, you would see the picture and go like, no, I close my eyes, no, I go like, and I'm like, oh, it's fine, don't worry. And your aunts and uncles were like, no, we have to take another one, we have to do this, we have to do that. And I was like, wow, this is becoming a whole like photo shoot going on.
Yeah.
And the second memory that I have is from homecoming, obviously, the pictures that your mom took of us everywhere in the house, and especially the picture with the llama.
Yeah. Gotta have the picture with the llama if you're in a Peruvian household, girl.
Yeah. Because you had a lot of what is that, like embroidery things?
Yeah.
It's
basically
not.
It's like different, like, yeah, I would say like little like pieces of art that have llamas on it. We had the llama fur in the shape of a llama. Like it's wild.
and her mom was taking pictures of us, like we were taking some cute pictures before going to homecoming, and then her mom started moving the couches and saying, Briseida, you have to come here and take a picture with a llama. And I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, that was really funny. I'm like, it's funny because I literally have a friend who one day just counted all the llamas in my house. And I was like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. She's like, you love llamas. And I'm like, it's Peruvian thing, yo. It's just a Peruvian thing. We love llamas. I don't know why, but we
You
love
have to.
llamas.
Okay,
Indian.
so I'm glad we are laughing a little bit because now we are going to a more serious topic. A little bit more serious. It doesn't have to be serious. But let's talk about a little bit about the elections because I feel like the whole world has been has its eyes on the United States right now on the elections, and because it's one of the biggest and most powerful nations, and I feel like this happens every time there's every time there's elections, this happens, but especially these ones are like on the mouth of the whole entire world. And talking about these current situations, how are you feeling about these elections?
I think you could kind of catch it in the earlier part of this, but I feel like it's a dumpster fire. That's what I really feel like. I feel like our country is a true trash can right now. Just because like the leadership is awful, and I like there's just been so much. I feel like personally, I mean, granted, I don't know if I have to be like not say who I stand for or whatever, but like personally, I'm not a big Trump fan. I
No,
can
you
say
can
that.
say whatever you want.
Okay,
You're
great.
you're free to say whatever you want.
I can say that. I truly feel like it's just his administration and him being president for so long, or at least for the last 4 years, I guess. Um, it's just been exactly how everybody imagined it whenever like we found out he was going to be president. Because it's truly been like, again, I mean, and like you said, everybody's been looking at us. Like there's been protests, there's been white supremacy, there's been just straight up ignorance. Like that's literally just what his entire administration has been. Even with the coronavirus, like he got it and then he continues to have rallies. I think he just had a rally in Florida like 2 weeks ago. And it's truly, honestly, like it's embarrassing. Like I know not just me, I talk about it with my friends too, just like it's on the mouths of everyone else. We talk about it and it's just it's truly embarrassing, like being a part of the US at this point. I will say that. Because we know it's not on the good, it's not like on the mouths of everyone because it's good news. It's because we look trashy and we look like truly like the caricature or the stereotype of Americans, like, oh, like heat all, like we're stupid and all that stuff. It's true though. Like we just I feel like we really, with this administration, we're kind of adding to that, and that's embarrassing as an American because I'm like, we don't want that. Like nobody wants to live in a country where they're embarrassed of their leader. And that's how I feel constantly throughout these 4 years. So yeah, I would say that, and I would also say a little scared, to be honest, just because I've also seen the destruction, like aside from the stupidness, it's just been the destruction that's happened with especially Latino and Black like families, the Latino families that are trying to cross the border, and how he separated children from those families is devastating. And I still have, like, my mother works with those kids who come unaccompanied, where they just come alone basically without their parents or anything. And just seeing the detriment that the like ICE detention centers have, where she literally met a girl the other day who she was like 15 or something, and in those detention centers they didn't give her a pad for I think like a week. They didn't give her a pad. She had to use the same one. And so it's like this administration has truly just tortured my Latino brothers and sisters, and then like my Black brothers and sisters too, with the police brutality and the violence. And then even with the white supremacy, there's been more, white people or white supremacists going out on killing sprees towards Black and Black and brown women. So, and Black and brown men and women. So it's truly disheartening at this point. And like with this election, I would not be surprised if he were to get another 4 years, because the fact that he even got 4 years was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So now the fact that we're here again, I really don't want it. I really don't. Like, clearly, I mean, I just told you how I feel, but it's one of those things that, and we'll get into that in a minute, but it's one of those things that I wouldn't be shocked, because truly we have to realize that the US, just like a lot of other countries, but especially the US, it's for the white male. It works in favor for the rich white male, which he checks all those boxes. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand right now. Is like, it's kind of in the air, and it's scary. It's a scary place to be honest.
Yeah. And what do you think the outcome will be? Because I have seen so many things, and I have seen so many people compare both Trump and Biden. And like you were saying now, like he checks all those boxes, and a lot of people say Biden also checks all those boxes. I see some differences, obviously, and I see differences in Biden's, like the people that he has in his team and all of that. Like there's some big differences to Trump, because I feel like a lot of people only see the president, only see like the face, instead of seeing like a whole team that's behind them that's going to do the job. So what do you think the outcome will be? What do you think will happen? Like you were saying that you wouldn't be surprised that he would get 4 more years, but do you think that will happen? That's a thing that will happen?
I hope to God not. I truly don't. Like because like when he got elected in 2016, I will never forget going to my college at the time. I was going to the University of Central Florida, and people were truly sobbing because we knew how bad it was going to get. Like, I mean, I'm getting a little teary-eyed just thinking about it, but, that's how insane, like, the emotional impact this was. I mean, and look at how our 4 years have turned out. It's continued to be an emotional impact and, like, a mental health impact, because it's just so much awful things that have happened under this administration. So, I remember that, and it sucks because I feel like this year, if it were to happen again, it's going to be that, but then it's also going to be numbness, because we know what to expect at this point.
Yeah,
like,
you already know.
Exactly. At the time, we didn't know what to expect, and we knew what to expect to a certain degree, but now that we've gone through so much bullshit so far, and it's only possibly going to get worse, I think it's just pure numbness at this point, because it's like, after so much trauma, like American can take, like, it's just going to be continued trauma. Granted, there are those people out there who are going to love it and, celebrate whatever. But, I hope to God that, especially, honestly, personally, I think the only thing that's going to change those Republican Trump supporters to a Biden supporter and have Biden win is the fact that coronavirus was handled so poorly, because he knew about it before it even hit us. So, and we didn't have a plan. And so with that, a lot of, Biden supporters, Democrats and Republicans, not even Biden supporters, Trump supporters, but just Democrats and Republicans alike, have lost loved ones and have had people die. And so I think that's where people are going to be like, okay, well, this guy didn't do it right. So let's try another leader and see how they're going to handle it. But honestly, Madalena, like, if I have to be 1,010% right now, it's anyone's game, because I truly think, I hope, like, I have a little bit more hope this time around, that hopefully Biden is going to win. That's the outcome I wish for. And Kamala, because love Kamala. But I really can say it's anyone's game at this point, unfortunately.
And what do you think? Because I saw a video that you posted on your social media talking about the the Latino Trump supporters, right? A little bit about the story behind it. And what do you think that not only the Latino Trump supporters, but any Trump supporter that is not a far and right white supremacist, like what are they missing? Like why would they vote for Trump?
So living in Miami, I will tell you this. I literally went there thinking, oh, we speak the same language. We all realize we're immigrants. We all are on the same page about, like where we stand in this society, right? Because American society differs from European society, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought I was going to a place that was going to be accepting of, that part of us, like being immigrants and also having Black within us and realizing that, Black people are. Yeah.
Sorry, just to make for people that don't know, in Miami, there's a lot of immigrants, like
Yes,
in Orlando, right?
Correct. So there's a lot, I would say even more. It's probably like the highest Hispanic population in the United States.
Okay, perfect.
So because of that, so I went, again, I'm Peruvian and Dominican. I thought it was going to be a safe space. And I was honestly mistaken a lot of the time because I was getting I don't look, I guess, typically Hispanic, whatever that means, but
Mm-hmm.
I have curlier hair. I look probably more on the Afro-Latina side. And it was always ugh, who are you? We don't speak this. I'll start speaking Spanish and they will not refuse to speak to me in Spanish.
Wow.
Because they think their Spanish is higher and better than mine. And so I was kind of huh? And barely taken aback a lot of the time. And I did have friends and roommates of mine where their parents were Trump supporters. And I would ask them that too. Cause I couldn't tell you, I mean, looking at them from the outside in, I'm like, you're an immigrant. You should be offended at what's happening at the border, just like anybody else. You should be offended at what's happening with the police brutality against Black and brown bodies. You should be offended by that. But they aren't. And so I asked my friends and my roommates who their parents, were Latino, would come from a different country, were immigrants, and how they were still voting for Trump. And it was a dissociation. Some of them would be they're like, oh yeah, I'm an immigrant, but these immigrants. It was oh, but them. There's a dissociation that they are not them. They are not in the same group.
Okay.
And so it's just in my opinion, delusion. But it was that. It was oh, well, they're taking our money and they're taking our resources. Trump is, it was a lot of the economic factor that he's, very smart, business savvy, whatever you want to call it, with the money. But that can only go so far. And also his taxes just came out. So is he really, or he's a crook? That's just my but that, things like that, where I'm it was a lot of dissociation. And that's what I see is that, oh, I'm a Trump supporter, and I'm not white, but he's gonna make our country better because of, he's gonna put more money in our pockets. And I'm just looking at them okay, sure.
So it was like oppression inside the oppression, right?
Yeah, it's wild. So yeah. So in a way, it's that, and it's the dissociation, like I said, between them as a person, as an immigrant, but they don't see themselves. They see themselves at a higher echelon than, those other immigrants. And it's just crazy to me because I'm we're all here. We're all in the same pool. They look at us the same way. If you think for 1 second that Trump is going to be oh no, but you're a better immigrant. You know what I mean? It's just, it's really insane to me. That talk, that kind of language. But yeah, that's what I'm assuming. I mean, that's what I got from my experience there, is that's why people tend to vote for him who aren't white.
Yeah. What do you think will happen if Trump wins, and what do you think will happen if Biden wins? If you could say one thing that maybe will affect the whole nation.
So,
or more, if one thing is hard for you, you can say whatever you want.
It's one main thing. So if Biden wins, I think there's going to be a lot more hope in repairing our country. Granted, I'm not saying Biden is a saint. I'm really not. I'm not going to sit here and say that. But he has science on his side with the coronavirus. He has people who, and Kamala, who's extremely experienced. So I think there's going to be more hope in the fact that they are going to follow the rules as they're intended, and they're going to do their best to try and like fight for the American people. And also try and put like unify us again, because I felt like under Obama's administration there was a lot more unity. There was not all this division and hate and disgusting like behavior that happens. And so I'm hoping with them that's when the hope will happen again, and that will hopefully their team will be able to help rebuild, the America that we want again, because these 4 years have truly just been a disgrace, in my opinion. If Trump were to win, or if Biden were to win, also, this is another thing I think will happen, because I heard that Trump said that he'll like leave the country or something. And me and my boyfriend were talking about that the other day, and I was like, why would he say something like that? He's like, because he has so many charges against him in the fact of like, the child sex ring and all this other stuff, and the Russia election, that all those charges, now that he's not president, could stick to him now. So if he were to leave the country, it wouldn't affect him, because he would basically be like a fugitive in a way. So I didn't even think of that, but I was like, oh, that's true. That's a good
makes
point.
sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's a good point that you say. So that's something I could definitely see happening, because it's already been a shit show so far. So I can definitely see that being the end to the shit show. But what's it called? If Trump were to win, I think, like I said, like it's just going to be more of like this, like people just walking, because like literally I will never forget that day. People were just so heavy with like, it was like a grief. Like we knew the loss we were about to experience, of rights, of people, of, like just the America that we wanted or want for us. We knew it was going to go out the door. So I think that's what it's going to be. And truly like numbness, because it's just like, we've just been knocked down so much that it's like, we're like prepping ourselves to be knocked down again. And so I hope to God it's really not that, but again, like I'll explain the electoral process, but that's why I'm like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And what does it feel like right now to be a US citizen? It's the hardest question so far.
A lot of emotions. Personally, like stressed, anxious. Watching these debates doesn't make it better. Truly, like just again, like a dumpster fire shit show. But it's a stressful time. I would say it's definitely just a stressful time, and we all feel that collectively. So I would definitely say extremely stressed out, extremely anxious, and doing our part. Like I just voted on Monday, but doing our part of like, getting through it as best as can, take it day by day. I think like for us, because we're living it, we try not to talk about it as much. I mean, we do talk about it, but we try not to talk about it as much. Exactly. Because it's just like, we're already living it. Like, why do more damage, But yeah, it's a stressful time for sure.
It's like therapy, what you are doing here. Talk to me.
Just come to me.
Yeah. So I had some people ask questions, because this is really like, I don't know if you understand like how big, because I feel like sometimes when I talk with American people, I feel like they don't understand like how big everything that happens there like impacts the rest of the world, and how everything that happens there, the rest of the world is looking at, and it's like the good and the bad. Like the rest of the world follows a lot of what happens in the US. So I have a lot of people that when they knew I was doing this conversation with you, they asked me so many questions. They were like so excited. Oh, ask her this, ask her that. So I just brought here some questions, not all of them because there were a lot. But one of the questions you already answered. So there were a lot of people that were asking like if what happens if Trump let's imagine that Trump doesn't win and he doesn't accept that. Like, is it possible that he doesn't accept that? Like everything has happened because he has been saying that because of the voting and everything, like he can he do that? Can he say like, oh, I won't accept this outcome and I'm still the president? Imagine.
No, I'm pretty sure they would have to like remove him from the premises because legally that's like you can't do that. So no, I don't think he can like just be like, I don't want this, you know, like I'm gonna stay here. I don't think he can do that. So yeah, I think legally he would have to be removed from the premises if he were to do some stupid shit like that, which I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah. And if he loses and he accepts that he loses, but what do you think can happen? Like you said, he could leave the country. That's what he's saying he will do. But what if he stays? Do you think something like bigger and bad can happen?
I think possibly, I mean, I told my boyfriend, even though he said all that, like the charges will stick or whatever, I'm like, he's still, again, a rich white man in America, which a lot of the time, like, stuff doesn't stick. Charges don't stick. So I think in a perfect world, if he were to get out and he weren't to leave the country, I would hope he would be charged for the sex trafficking, for the election, for like everything like that, because it's just been off. Like the things he has done should have been outlawed already. Like he should already have been in jail for many things. And yeah, in a perfect world, that's how I see it. Lock him up. That's literally how I see it.
Yeah. And one question that so many people asked was how the voting works. Like a lot of people don't know like how the voting works in the US. Like how do you vote? What's the process like? So can you walk us through it?
Yes. So I thank God for that question, because I literally had a friend who went to, I think it was Ireland a couple of years ago. And this was when Trump was our president. Is still our president. And so, you know, and she went and she said that literally every single time she said she was an American, people's like reactions would automatically change. So for example, she went to a pub in Ireland and this couple was like, oh, like they were going to give her a Guinness. And they were like, yeah, like, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, I'm an American. And the moment she said that, they were like, they took their Guinness back and they were like, no, because they assume, and I'm assuming that's what they assume, is that everybody voted for Trump. Like, oh, you're American, you voted for Trump. You know, you like him. You agree with his bullshit, which is not true. So I'm so glad that this is talked about and this question came up. So, and I'm also going to talk about the presidential election of 2016 of why he won. So I'll get into it. So basically the process, and I got all this information from USA.gov, just to credit. But basically how it works is like for somebody to be the president of the United States, they have to meet certain criteria. So I believe, and I'm looking from here, they have to be a natural born citizen. They have to be at least 35 years of age and a US resident for 14 years. And then after that, they have these things called primaries and caucuses, which is when the Democrats and the Republicans, like the senators and everything like that, they get together and they cast ballots of who they basically want to represent them in the general election. So who's going to be the general, election nominee for the Democratic Party, general election nominee for the Republican Party. So they cast those ballots. And then after that is when the presidential, like these people that they chose, aka in this situation for this election, Biden and Trump, they go around the country, they campaign, they get money. Also, money is a big factor. It didn't cover that here, but also money does also like basically count towards who's going to be president. Like that's why Bernie wasn't a nominee and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
The more money you get, basically, the more you campaign, the more money you get, the more likely you're going to be a general election nominee.
Okay.
So that's also a very, really, really big factor. So that's that. And then, what's it called? They have the primary, the national conventions, which is like the Republican National Convention, where they have like these big speakers and blah, 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 blah. Basically another form of campaigning. And then they have the Republican one as well. And then they have the debates and then the general election. So that's how it works. However, with the general election, and this is where I'm going to get into the 2016 election. With the general election, there is the Electoral College. And the Electoral College is basically a group of people per state. So like, for example, I live in Florida. I have like 29 electorals that vote. And basically each vote for each state, and it varies per state. I have 29 in my state, but like, for example, I'm looking at the map right here. Like Texas has like 38, and then like Louisiana has like 6. So it just changes. But basically what happened in the 2016 election is that Hillary got the popular vote, meaning the people voted for Hillary. She won that. However, the Electoral College is the one that voted for Trump. Because exactly. So that's why he became president, because the Electoral College, like the electoral votes count more towards who's going to become president.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. So that counts more towards who's going to become president. And what happened in the 2016 election is that I believe it was like 6 or 7 people who claimed to be, I think, like electorals who claimed to be Democrat voted Republican or voted independent, something to that effect. And don't quote me on that, but like something to that effect.
Yeah.
And that's why basically, and I'm looking at it right here, that's why like Trump, he had, I think, 306 electoral votes, and Hillary only had 232. So whoever gets to 270 is the president. Whoever gets 270 electoral votes becomes president. And because Donald Trump got more and went past 270, he became president. So it's fucked up if you think about it, because, you know, originally the people chose Hillary, but the Electoral College chose Trump. So that's that.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know it was like that. And so are you going to talk about this year now, or? Because I was going to ask, do you have any information like for now? What's the percentage like, or not really?
So I know generally I've seen on the polls, and I don't want to say this because like that's the thing that happened with the 2016 election, is that the polls were like, oh, Hillary's gonna win. Hillary's gonna win. Oh, she's gonna win. Like, yeah. And then we all know what happened. So in the polls, it's looking like Biden has more of a, what's that word? So it's like a approval percentage, meaning like more people are willing to vote for him. However, with the with Trump, he's having lower approval ratings as opposed to Biden. But at this point, it's like we already seen this, so that's why we're like, let's see what the votes say. Like election day, we gotta wait until we see. So
and what's the process of voting? Because you vote by mail, is that correct? Or
so you can vote by mail, which that was another thing this year, because Trump, I don't know if you heard how he was trying to like stop the mailing system.
Yeah.
Good old Donnie. Yeah, He was trying to stop the mailing system so people couldn't vote against him,
Yeah.
which is trash, but whatever. But yeah, so with that, you can vote because of the pandemic too. It's always been an option, but because of the pandemic especially, people have chosen to vote by mail. So you basically get your ballot, you fill it out, and then you could either go to a polling place and drop it off, or you could just mail it back to be sent to wherever they're going to count the votes or whatever.
Okay.
Then there's also the option of going in person, which I did. I waited 3 hours to vote on Monday in the rain. Like, it was
Wow.
crazy.
But
But yeah,
why? Was there a lot of people? Like, why do you have
lots of people. Lots of people. And also too, you have to realize, especially with this pandemic in the United States, there's been so much unemployment. So because of that, there are a lot of people laid off, a lot of people angry, and
Mhm.
a lot of people have had people pass away. So now people are like, if they haven't voted in past elections, people are
You'll
voting
vote
now.
now. Yeah, that's
Correct.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you
So
don't have, do you have a specific day to vote or no?
So we have like time periods. It depends on the state you live in, and it also depends on the county, or yeah, the county you live in. So for example, for me, I live in Orlando, Florida, and my county, my Orange County, they started early voting this Monday. So I went the first day. So they just started, but I think California, like I think they started like a week or two ago.
Mhm.
So it just depends on where you live, but you can vote all the way up until the 3rd of November is the last day to vote. So
Mhm.
that day is going to be crazy. That's election day.
Yeah.
So I think it starts at 7 and ends at 7. And then they have to start counting the votes for the night time when we find out who's going to be president.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Because here you have one, well, Portugal is a small country. So the amount of people that are in Portugal are probably the amount of people like in Florida only. But in any case, like you have one day to vote. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone is voting like in their, like for example, in my area, I vote in my high school, like they put the ballots and everything in high schools, gyms and everything. So you have one day that you can vote. I don't know, it's probably from like 9 a.m. until, I don't know, 6, 7
Mm-hmm.
p.m. So you
Mm-hmm.
go, you vote, and then you go home. And that's what happened. So I feel like that's why there's so many people that are confused. And I know that in Italy it's like this because I have friends from there also. So it's also like this. So I feel like there's a lot of people confused in Europe because it's just you can do too much, it's just too much going on. So I feel like that's why so many people ask this. And thank you so much for your explanation, because it totally helped me understand some things. I will also put some links so people can check everything, and if there are some things like you are not able to explain everything, and that's okay. So to end in like a good mood, because I feel like people always concentrate in like the bad parts of life, and I also like to think about the good and positive parts. So what is like one thing or more like good things that happened this year in the United States of America? Tell us good things from your country. Let's promote.
Yes. I would say, I think honestly, the one thing that comes to mind was the protests. Even though we were protesting for something awful, the protest gave me a lot of hope, because like I went to one specifically, and honestly, again, being a person of color in the United States, I've experienced my fair share of racism. And, a lot of it is at the hands of, either white Latinos or white people in general. So seeing how many white people were at the protests, and just not even just white people, but just people of all like backgrounds, races, coming together to stand up against something that's truly awful. It was really heartening. Like I loved it, because it was like, wow, like they're here for us. Like, yeah, we see the day to day, like what the media shows us and the division and everything. but there are a lot of them that are on our side and really want to push forward the agenda that Black lives do matter, and that we want to respect their lives just as much as white lives. So I would say, for me personally, the one thing that does stand out is like the protests and the unity that it created, because it was a lot of unity over something that was supposed to divide us. And I feel like originally, and I feel like we spinned it on its head, and we're like, no, like, we're here, we're together, we're holding hands, and we're gonna stand up for what's right. So I would definitely say that. And around the world too. Like, that was amazing seeing it happening in Europe and England, and just every part of the world protesting that. So yeah, that was
and that goes along what I was saying about America, United States influencing like the rest of the world. Like that happens all the time, and that's what I meant by saying like the good and the bad. That's it. Like when something happens there, it spreads. And I also went to the manifestation here in. Is it manifestation? Do you say manifestation? No.
No, you say protest.
I just
sure, manifestation.
I just invented the word. How do you say it then? Like when you march?
Yeah, like a protest. That's what we call
protest. Okay. My brain just broke right now. It was like, how do you say this?
It's okay. It's all right. I was like, this is a Portugal thing. They say manifestation for protest. Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, we really do. Okay, so I went to the protest here in Lisbon, and I saw a lot of friends like spread around Europe, and that was it. That's what you said. Like, I felt a lot of unity, and I felt like it gave hope to the world, even though it was something not very fortunate, but it gave us hope.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you could spread the last question, this is the last question. If you could spread a message for other countries, other cultures, what would it be?
I think I would just say keep an open mind. I mean, we've touched upon it throughout the conversation, but keep an open mind. You never know how much a person's going to change your life, how much a person is going to really challenge like your day-to-day norms of what your cultural norms and your day-to-day society norms that you have. And I think it's good to grow in that aspect and realize again that like not everybody lives the same, and we can learn a lot from that, and become better people, become more sensitive people, become more kinder people, because we know that not everybody lives alike, but also there's a lot of similarities too, and keeping an open mind to that too as well. So just keeping an open mind to people who do come from other backgrounds, and embracing them.
Yeah. It's all about the love.
It's all about the love, baby.
Now I want to give you a little bit of time so you can talk about what you do, your music, because Briseida is a singer and she's an amazing singer. She has a voice of an angel. You know something funny? I want to talk about this because we were in choir together, but I was like in the first level, like ground zero level, and Briseida was like in the last one. She was like an actual singer that could get solos and everything. Me, no.
Stop.
I didn't even sing. What was the name of the art teacher, the choir teacher?
Miss Green, I think.
Miss Green.
Yeah.
You know that in one of our concerts in high school, Miss Green told me before we went on stage, she told me, in this song, can you just mouth? Can you not sing? She really...
She did not! Oh my God! That's awful.
And I remember looking at her and thinking, yeah, no, I'm bad, okay? But she didn't want to tell me, like, don't go on stage, So she was like, can you just mouth in this song? Because it was like 1 minute to go, and I was probably like way off key, So she told me that, and I felt so awful. But now I think back and I'm like, why did I put myself in choir? Like, I can't sing. It was just for fun, Okay, but talk about your music.
So sorry, I have something to go to right after this, so I'm getting ready for that. But what's it called? So I am a singer, and I am making some original music right now. But basically, I just wanted to kind of promote that if you're interested in my voice or in my singing, please, what's the word? Support. Support me in looking up I Am Briseida, and that's going to be spelled B as in boy, R-I, S as in Sam, A as in ant, Y as in yo-yo, D-A. I have been singing covers, and I also have some original music coming out in November, so that's exciting. And I have a webcast going to be posted on my YouTube, hopefully early November, because it's supposed to webcast actually on election night. But yeah, check it out. I am Briseida on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Wherever you're listening to music, I have a Like a Star cover out on there. So please check it out. I love that. And thank you again for bringing me out here. I love you so much, Motherland. You know that.
You're welcome. I love you too. And I will link all of that below and on the podcast and on YouTube and everything. So if
Awesome.
you want everyone that's listening, you can check. Thank you so much, Briseida.
I love you, boo. I will talk to you. Hopefully we get to do this again.
Yeah,
without the
for sure.
recording.
Part 2. When
Yes.
yeah, part 2 when Biden wins.
True. Let's manifest.
Okay.
I'll talk to you, hon.
Love you. Bye
Love you
bye.
too. Bye.